Welcome to Mallet and Michelle on Dripping Springs, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallet. And today our guest is Camille Carson.
Camille Carson of Driftwood Horse Rescue and Sanctuary. I'm
Nay.
excited about this one. This is another one that kind of goes on the same lines as Penny Reeves.
Yes.
Yeah. So they do extra care and rehabilitation of horses. So probably sounds like maybe problem horses that have a hard time finding a home.
So if I was a horse, this is where I would go.
You would definitely be at the Horse Rescue and Sanctuary, Michelle. Well, here we are, New Year's. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Steve.
Yeah. So, this is the time of year where every time you go to the gym now, every machine is packed because of New Year's resolutions.
No, I wouldn't know that.
No, you probably wouldn't. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is what happens. Everybody comes in with new Lululemon gear and new little bags and stuff. And for 2 to 3 weeks, the gym is just jam-packed and you can't get any of the machines. You can't get any of the weights.
Public gyms gross me out anyways. I'm sorry. It just
I try not to think about it, but the very first thing I do when I go to the gym, when I walk in my house at home, I scrub my hands with soap and water for like 30 seconds. Because, sweat is the least of your worries when you're in the gym.
Oh, that just made me throw up a little bit in my mouth.
But you know why all these people are in the gym is their New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, because they ate too much.
Yeah. And New Year's resolutions have always been interesting to me. I'm a big goal maker.
Yeah, we did. You know what's funny is since we've been doing this like a full year now, I think our first topic or second topic was about goal, and I was making fun of people who do goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all in jest.
I'm a big believer in goals.
Yeah.
I write down all my major goals every year, and I don't consider them resolutions. They're things that I'm going to strive to achieve.
And it's my favorite time of the year when you want to have a meeting with me about our goals for the year. You know what I said last year, or like at the end of 2022 when we did it? I was like, okay, this is going to be the first year I'm not going to threat to quit at the end of this thing.
Actually, it went very well this year.
It did. You know what? We've matured, Steve. High five.
High five. Yes. Well, some of the New Year's resolutions that people make, losing weight, sticking to a healthier diet, exercising regularly, making better financial choices, quitting smoking. I think that one's got to be one from the past, and spending more time with family. And I've been reading a little bit about this, and some of the things that I've learned over the years about resolutions is you have to be very specific on your resolutions. Like the ones I just read, losing weight, that is a resolution that is almost destined to fail.
I guess you have to be like what you said, have a goal or have a plan in place,
well,
right?
You have to have a very specific goal. And so instead of saying losing weight, you should say, I want to lose 20 pounds by March 1st.
By stop eating flaming hot Cheetos.
Yes. Yeah. Takis out the door, please. But that's one of the biggest things that the mistakes that people make is they have, like this other one here, making better financial choices. Well, what the heck does that mean?
Boring is what that means.
Yeah. But you need to define it, right? So instead of, I'm not going to order Starbucks coffee every day. I'm going to go do McDonald's senior drive-through coffee for 75 cents. And save $4 every day. That's a better financial choice.
My older kids are in the process of buying their first home. And I told them, up until they close, it's beans and rice. And they looked at me like I was insane.
I heard you talking to them on the phone about don't go buy a car. Don't go buy any furniture. That's so true. There you go. Better financial choices. Yep. Yeah. Well, some of the things I've learned over the years, you got to choose a specific goal. Like I said, focus on one goal at a time. So that is, say I want to, say I'm a new runner and I want to run a marathon this year. Well, I want to run a 5K. So you get that out of the way and then you go, hey, I want to run a half marathon. And then you get that out of the way and then you go, you know what? I can do a marathon. So choose one very specific goal at a time. The other thing that people do is they set their goals too high. And then when they start to struggle, then they give up. Mm-hmm. And the thing that most people don't know is your motivation to keep your goals or to keep your resolutions, that always fades. That's why 2 to 3 weeks in the gym, those more than half, 3/4 of those people will stop coming because you are going to get up one day and your feet are going to hit the floor and you go, damn, I do not feel like doing this.
How
and
about
you won't do it.
Just be like me and don't set any goals, and then you have nowhere to fall.
Your goal is not to work out, Michelle. and you still stay fairly fit. I don't know how you do it.
That's true. You know, this month I do. Wait until I have to take steroids again and I'll gain 15 pounds.
Then you'll figure it out though. But remember, motivation fades and discipline's what's going to keep you on track. So discipline. I know it seems very.
Have you met me? I have zero discipline.
You actually do. I have discipline. I'm going to sleep in until 8:30. Hell or high water.
I wish I could sleep until 8:30.
But so your motivation's going to fade, and the only thing that gets you out of bed on those days is the discipline. You're like, okay, I got to keep focused on my goal, whatever it is, very specifically. And if I want to get there, then I need to do this workout today, or I need to count my calories, or I need to whatever, look at my credit card bill and figure out where I'm going to cut the costs. But I read this article recently about the rule of thirds. This is sort of about the fitness side of things, because most people's resolutions every year are fitness or weight related,
health related,
related. And this rule of thirds. So this is if you're a runner or a weightlifter or a swimmer.
Let me guess what it is. You only eat a third of your French fries, of your large French fries.
That's exactly right. And
is it? Am I right?
2/3 out the window.
Okay.
Yeah. Ow! I got a cramp in my. Freaking,
you got a cramp in your ass. We're back. Steve's body revolted on him. He was talking about.
Boy,
we had to stop recording.
It's because you said French fries. I just got a little close to the edge of my chair, and I just hit my hamstring funny, and it cramped up.
Well, I was rolling laughing.
That's
I have tears.
Gold right there, Michelle.
Well, I got that on video too, so we'll be playing that one.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll hit the highlights. It'll go viral. All right, the rule of thirds.
Okay.
So if you're training for something, you should feel 1/3 bad, meaning 1/3 of your workouts you should feel like crap.
Okay.
1/3 of your workouts you should feel okay, and 1/3 of your workouts you should feel great.
Interesting.
And so let's just talk about running, because that's sort of my thing. If you have 2/3 of your runs you feel great, you're not training hard enough. If you have 2/3 of your runs where you feel bad, you're overtraining, you're not getting enough sleep, you're not eating properly. That's actually used by a lot of Olympic athletes. They expect to have workouts. The reason I'm tying this all into the resolutions is you will have days where you feel like crap and you don't want to do it. If you know that's part of the cycle, you're more likely to work through it. And that's where the discipline comes in. So
we are saying that the rule of thirds is not about French fries.
It is not about French fries.
I'm very disappointed once again.
It's about Big Macs, Michelle.
I'm very disappointed.
Anyway, so I'm encouraging everybody out there. You've got your resolutions. Think through them very carefully and stick with it. If it means enough to you, be very specific on your goal and stick through it. So if it means enough, you will do it.
So along with that, I have some resolutions that would be really easy for people to follow. Okay. You ready for this?
Yes.
Stop doom scrolling on social media.
God, I'm bad about that.
I am too. Okay.
That's the worst.
So doom scrolling. Ready?
Do you want to explain what doom scrolling is?
Well, it's just doom and gloom and conspiracy theory.
I thought you meant just
it's news.
Flipping up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good.
That's exactly what it is. It's doom. It's doom and gloom.
Before you know it, 40 minutes have gone by of your life that you'll never get back.
Did you just hear my Siri yell at me? It was like, yes.
It did it?
It did. Yes. It did that. It must know.
It knows.
It must know. Okay, so we're going to live our best life, and we're only going to buy pants this year with no buttons or zippers. Okay, that one was funny. But also, maybe I should do enough yoga to justify wearing yoga pants.
Yoga pants every day.
Okay.
I'll encourage you. your resolution should be yoga 5 times.
I do actually.
If you do yoga 5 times, at least you can justify the pants.
I do Michelle's version of yoga. Okay.
Clean in the house.
No, I do lay on the floor on this rolly thing in the ball and I stretch and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So it's Michelle's. Follow me for more exercise tips. Okay. So here's another one.
Find me on Instagram.
Find me on Instagram. Go vegan for 6 months. Tell everyone you know about it. Shame them for not being vegan, and then ultimately quietly give up.
And nobody will know till you're at the Christmas party next year eating all the beef tenderloin and what's the asparagus dip? No, spinach dip.
Asparagus dip?
Asparagus dip.
Sounds delicious.
Whatever. I saw it at the party today.
How about become the goat at sarcasm? That's me. Like
Greatest of all time, Michelle Lewis, sarcasm queen.
For sure. And my final and best resolution, New Year's resolution for 2023 that everyone should follow is to eat more tacos.
Eat more tacos.
Eat more tacos.
And get it on a shirt.
For sure.
I've been reading about the weather conditions for 2023 and the NOAA, National Oceanographic Atmosphere Administration. I knew I was
just going no.
For 2023. Unfortunately, they're predicting. Remember last year they were talking about, or earlier this year they were saying, earlier last year now because we're in January, but that we were maybe going to have another snowmageddon. Well, that sounds less likely now because they're actually, the NOAA is saying that we're probably going to have a warmer start to 2023 than normal.
Well, according to my other thing I just talked about, the doom scrolling, the world's going to end this year anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
What was the year? Was it 20? What year was there? They were saying the Mayan calendar was saying that the world was going to end. Was that 2012?
I don't remember.
I think it was, yeah.
Maybe they got it backwards. Maybe it was 2021.
It might be.
The world.
We made it out of 2021, so it can't be that.
Barely.
But they're saying that start of 2023 is going to be warmer and the drought is going to persist and it actually is going to get possibly drier.
Ooh.
And another thing I read about that, 59% of the country right now is considered in drought conditions.
Oh, wow.
Almost 60% of this country right now is in drought conditions.
That's going to have some big, big consequences.
So we really need some rain. I was out riding my bike a few days ago and Onion Creek was bone dry and, all the little ponds around here are just, there's no water in them at all.
Good time to buy lake property.
Yeah, it is.
For sure. So in 2023, I wanted to talk about a little bit stuff that I'm kind of an expert, or not really an expert, but I pretend to be an expert about. But have you ever heard of the Pantone Color Institute?
I have.
Or Pantone Color Institute.
I think it's Pantone.
Okay, so they're a world-renowned authority on color, and they provide color systems and kind of like leadership technology in regards to color, marketing, branding, that whole system. They have something called the Pantone matching system, PMS, and it just basically, to put it real simple, it's like what colors match and what colors don't match. It's just that's very, very simple. And like when you're rolling out a product,
in America needs that.
Yeah, like back to my idea of men's Garanimals. Just going to tell you, it's going to hit big someday, huge. So the marketing color of the year for 2023, and basically what that means is you're going to start to see this color over and over again in color. So pay attention to it. Is the color on the screen, and it's called Viva Magenta. It is basically a reddish pink, and you're going to start seeing this a lot in shoes and clothes, in marketing, blah, blah, blah. So carrying that over
it's a really dark, almost like a...
It would make a great nail polish color.
Yeah, sort of
a winey color. So
dark.
Going into paint colors, people are kind of always interested in what paint colors.
That would be the paint color?
Well, I think that the painting industry takes this particular color, whatever the color of the year is, and tries to apply it maybe in a muted tone. So like 2021, what color do you think 2021's color was of Pantone's Color Institute?
I think it was something much more bland than that.
Gray.
I was going to say a gray.
Gray. And 2022 was Very Perry, which was purple, which is a purplish.
That's weird.
And if you think back, you're like, oh, you start to see some purple. I mean, if you look at the back of my phone, I actually have a purple iPhone. So that is interesting.
So the thing about that is like, that is not a timeless color. That color will get old very quick.
It will. But,
very
okay,
quickly.
So now let's go into kind of more of the mainstream, I guess, painting companies. Sherwin-Williams, their color is called, I think I'm saying this right, Reddened Point. And it's kind of a mauvey browny color. It's weird.
For 2023?
2023. It's a mauvey brown. Benjamin Moore is Raspberry Blush.
So they're all these sort of
reddish color. Bear Paint, they just totally went the opposite. Their 2023 color of the year is Black Canvas.
Oh my gosh.
So look, I'm not saying that, you're going to paint your entire house black interior, but what you are going to start seeing is more exterior trim colors. You're going to start to see a little bit more.
We started seeing that last year.
Yeah. But even if you're looking, like I have my internet open right now on our screen, the podcast, obviously they can't see. Yeah. You're starting to see some of these headers and some of these ads that are just on this, or is the same color.
It's that same color.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that you're going to start seeing it.
I always thought that these companies looked for trends and then said, oh, we're starting to see a lot more of this color out there, so that's our color of the year. But it actually occurs to me as I'm looking at this, that's not what they do. They are going to advertise and people are going to say, oh, look, this is the color of the year. This is what I should paint my kitchen in.
Yeah.
It's like they're setting the trends. They're not noticing
exactly.
the trends. They're setting the trends.
Mm-hmm. And it's just really meant for marketing is what it is. That's all it is. It's not meant to rebrand your entire self.
If you think about it, these companies make a lot more money if they come out with a new color every year that you're supposed to paint, the bathroom or the kitchen or the bedroom.
Well, even products. So it's like product creation, but not rebranding. Right. So it's mainly about mallet integrity team. If it was magenta, we're not going to turn everything into magenta, but maybe some of our advertising, some of our headers and things like that for what we're promoting real estate, we'll kind of incorporate that color a little bit in. But I'm not going to go in and paint your entire kitchen magenta. Please or don't. Suggest.
Please don't. I had an office when I was younger that was painted that color, and I thought it was really cool the first day I did it. And then 6 weeks later, I was like, man, I hate this color.
Did you have a pink office?
No, it was that.
Oh, that
whatever you called it, magenta.
Yeah, magenta.
It was I called it barn red at the time. It was a really deep, dark red, kind of like
but
you were saying.
I see magenta has a lot of pink in it, or a lot of, a lot of other kind of purpley pink.
It got old really quick, but.
So let's jump right into weird true facts.
Weird true facts.
Absolutely.
WTF.
And I thought it would be fun to kind of deep dive into horses a little bit because of Camille that's coming on. Absolutely.
Driftwood Horse Rescue.
Did you know that horses do not breathe through their mouth, only their nose?
Did not know that.
Did not know that. On average, horses live around 25 to 30 years.
I knew that. Like a 30-year-old horse is an old horse.
So they can also sleep standing up or, obviously laying down. But it's because of their locking system in their legs. I think that's why.
Because they are considered prey animals. And so when they stand up in case something comes after them, because when they're laying down, they're very exposed.
Well,
it takes them a second to get up.
I read that they only hit REM sleep laying down.
Really?
Yeah. So
you don't see horses laying down or laying down a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't either. They have nearly a 360-degree field of vision, which I didn't. Not interesting. Yeah, I guess because their eyes
sort of stick out on their head.
Eyes in the back of their head.
Literally.
They have 10 different muscles in their ears.
Oh, I believe that.
That's weird.
That was I think Penny actually taught me when you walk up to a horse, if that horse's ears go back, that's a warning sign.
Beware.
They
don't have teeth in the middle of their mouth. That's what it said. I don't know what that. I guess in the row of teeth or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe all their teeth are in the front.
I found this one interesting. Horses cannot vomit, and it's because they have a strong band of muscles around their esophagus, and it's so strong that their stomach would actually burst before they vomited.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, interesting. They produce about 10 gallons of spit a day.
I believe it.
But they also drink at least 5 gallons of water a day,
They do drink a lot.
The tallest horse was 7 feet 2 inches, and his name was Samson.
Samson was probably a Clydesdale.
Clydesdale. I didn't get what kind of horse it was. And what do you think the speed was of the fastest horse? Just kind of
miles per hour?
Yeah, miles per hour.
35 miles per hour.
55 miles per hour. That was the highest or the fastest horse speed that was ever recorded.
That's pretty fast.
I know.
I mean, a cheetah is 70 miles an hour.
55 miles per hour. This is all weird true facts, not independently researched by anyone else, just randomly searched on the internet. So
you know what? When we had horses, when my kids were little, one of my favorite things to do would be to go out and feed them. And I had a little lawn chair out there, and I would feed them, and I'd just sit and watch. It's so relaxing.
One of the first times I was ever at your house, your ex-wife had a horse in the kitchen. The horse was in the house.
Get out of here. I wasn't there for that.
You weren't. I was dropping Logan off, and the horse came in through the front door.
Oh my!
Did you not know this? I thought I had told you this.
We had animals in the house a few times that I was not happy about.
Well, you had a horse in the house.
Well, that same horse, which I think would have been Bunny, I think. But anyway, that same horse used to come up on our back porch and get into our that we had a garbage can out there for bird feed and stuff. And he would knock the lid off the can and start eating the bird feed off the back porch. But horses are really smart. They're fun animals.
I thought it was the most interesting house I had ever been to. It reminded me of Pippi Longstocking.
Did it? It reminded me of other things.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah. Well, let's take a little break and get Camille Carson in here of Driftwood Horse Rescue and Sanctuary.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallet Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at malletintegrityteam.com. And now here's Steve and Michelle.
All right, welcome back. We are here with Camille Carson and Timea Chemez. I almost messed it up already. Chemez of Driftwood Horse Rescue and Sanctuary in Driftwood. So welcome to the show, you two.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're glad you came on. And you've got some intriguing stuff that we want to talk about here as we go along. But I wanted to ask you, Camille, when did you move to Dripping Springs?
Been here for about 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
My husband and I moved down from Oregon. We both grew up in Oregon in the countryside.
It's beautiful up there.
Yeah. I grew up riding horses up in the Cascade Mountains.
Oh, wow.
But it's a lot colder and darker and wetter.
Yeah.
So we came down for the Texas sunshine.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, some days more than others, right? The Texas sunshine.
Yeah. How about you, Timea? When did you move here?
I moved here also about 10 years ago from New Jersey.
Oh, wow. Well, there's opposite sides of the
That's
country.
right.
You ended up in the central part.
We met in the middle.
What brought you here?
Honestly, I grew up with people are like in New Jersey, horses, yes. Tons of horses
Really?
in New Jersey, yes.
I didn't know that.
And I had a teacher that I was following and also a best friend that I met in my freshman year of college. And we both kind of decided that Austin would be the place to continue our lives.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, a lot of people end up here from both coasts. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did you end up coming up with the idea for the Driftwood Horse Rescue? Was that you, Camille, that came up with the idea?
It was all kind of one of those crazy coincidences.
Yeah.
I was actually planning on starting my own horse training business. Right when I was about to launch that, my main cart horse actually had a terrible accident and died very suddenly. Oh. And so that kind of set me back a little bit. And a friend started giving me books about stories of rescue horses. And I started thinking I could do rescue horses. Yeah. And so I started researching, and the more I researched, I had no idea about any of the plight of rescue horses, the slaughter pipeline, any of that. And so I was like, well, now that I know about it, I can't walk away from it. And just starting my own training business doesn't seem like enough. I want to do something to help. And at that same time, Timea serendipitously moved next door to me. And like we could literally walk to each other's ranches. Yes. And she had actually come from running a nonprofit previously. Oh. And she also wanted to help rescue horses. And so...
what year was this? That this was all
last year.
Oh, last year. Oh, wow.
It's all happened
fast. We're brand new still.
It's
So we both catalyzed each other into our first rescue.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's interesting that you both come from opposite sides of the country and you're both into horses and you end up living right next door to each other.
Yeah. Some moments are really like God moments.
Yeah.
We say that. There was like, definitely the whole point of me being there was to meet Camille.
What's your nonprofit background like? What have you done with that before?
I was also a founder and director of a nonprofit over on the other side of Austin that used nature-based activities, regenerative style farming and horses to facilitate mindfulness and personal growth and learning.
What does that mean? Regenerative farm concepts.
Regenerative systems are whole loop systems. So basically nothing goes to waste. Everything feeds into each other. So we caught our rainwater. We use permaculture design to capture as much water on the land, and then stacking systems. So kind of moving away from like the monocropping perspective of we grow one thing to companion planting. Okay. And like I said, so we had this horse arena that caught all of the water, went into a rain tank, all of that water fed all of the gardens and the plants. And the idea was to create a system that could fully sustain itself and to be an example of how we can live in sovereignty and community with
that's very cool.
The land and
you've integrated all of that into the Driftwood horse and rescue as well, right?
Yeah, most of it, some of it. Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was reading your bio, Camille, you talked about growing up with a Hungarian father, and that you've always had that was you?
Oh,
wait a minute, is this yours? Is that yours? That is your bio? Oh my goodness.
So did we not get one from you, Camille?
Or is it mixed?
I replied all to that email.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We're going to get to know you as we go along.
So, because I was like, wait a minute, because you don't look Hungarian. I was like,
I actually have a Sri Lankan dad.
Both
immigrant dads.
I can believe.
We both have immigrant dads.
I was like so confused because I was like, as I was sitting here, I was like, well, what part of Hungary is this beautiful woman from? Because it's like, okay, forget it. Show's over. Right, yeah. Everything I've learned is just.
That's really funny.
Well, now Camille got to get to know you.
Now I got to know yours. Yeah, well, forget it. Yeah, so I want to know about your. Well, I want to know about your Hungarian father though, because I wanted to know about. You said he was a chef, right?
Yeah.
And so, what was some of your favorite things that he made you? And
I mean, just his story was so fascinating and interesting. And he escaped communism and came over from West Germany and kind of started his own life and was in the restaurant and hospitality business. And I always loved all of the Hungarian dishes, which were never a part of the restaurant.
Yeah.
But yeah, the like Hungarian goulash, Hungarian potatoes. My favorite that everybody knows, like beef Wellington. Just anything he made was delicious.
My mind is like, I have to totally shift my brain right now.
That's great.
And then you said your father was...
He's Sri Lankan. He came over. He has an interesting story, too. He came over with his family when he was 11 years old. His family was Tamil, which at the time there was a war going on between the Tamil and the Sinhalese in Sri Lanka. And so they were fleeing that. And they basically like left everything.
Did he go to Oregon?
I was going to say, end up in Oregon.
First, they took a ship. His dad was a doctor, but had to like completely
leave everything behind.
Go back to medical school from the beginning in the U.S. So they arrived in New York City on Thanksgiving Day, actually, and they didn't have any American currency. He had to borrow a dime from a stranger to call. To call a hotel. Wow. And then they slowly made their way across the United States and ended up in Oregon.
To Oregon. So you grew up the whole time in Oregon.
Yes.
So.
He met my mother at Oregon State, and I was born and raised in Oregon.
Oh.
What's your dad do now?
He's retired now. He was a businessman for a long time. Started his own chemical company.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Come across in a ship with nothing.
I had to borrow a dime. And look at his legacy here in little old Dripping Springs. For sure. Yeah. For sure.
So, Timea, you're the executive director for Driftwood Horse Rescue. And Camille, are you the owner? What's your position as that?
Yes, my husband and I are the founders.
The founders.
Because it's a nonprofit, yes.
So, what... you kind of told us how you got the idea, but why do you feel so passionate about starting this, and what keeps you guys going every day? Because I know it's a lot of work.
I mean, the horses.
The horses.
The horse. Like, I don't have any other answers just the horses.
I think I heard you right earlier. You said main heart horse. Is that what you said?
Yes.
What does that mean?
How would you explain a heart horse? I mean, the horse.
Your soul horse.
Yeah, like your soul horse. The horse, like he's like the horse who's your best friend and your family and your
partner,
your life partner. And like, if you're having a bad day, you can go hang out with him and you just feel so much better.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like your best friend.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier, that oftentimes people think of like relationships with horses, and horses are kind of a vehicle or an objective to accomplish something, to win something,
sometimes
to get something done.
Sometimes people just consider them tools.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And Camille and I consider horses a relationship and family, and these amazing sentient beings that have way more to offer us than a ride around anything. Yeah. A lot of the deep relationship and a lot of the work we do with horses starts from, they're in kill pens. So rehabbing them to facilitate a space where they can become a horse, to facilitate a relationship where they can relate to humans in a way that is safe and trusting and loving. Yeah. And it's amazing. And it's just, I always look at it, it's like a walking meditation. Horses live in the present moment. That's the only place they are. And to really connect with horses and to be in relation with horses comes from a place of us being present and authentic with how we're showing up. Like Camille was sharing, when you're having a bad day, your horse isn't going to judge you. It's a safe place, and the horses are amazing at holding space and at facilitating release and transformation.
What do you mean holding space?
Horses live in community. They live in herds. They are constantly in energetic and emotional touch with their surroundings. So, if you're angry, if you're frustrated, if you're crying, you can go be in the space with the horse and literally feel energetically held.
Be right
like
back.
Yeah. Like you would,
have you got one Michelle can borrow today?
Be right back.
Please come sit in our herd.
Be right back. When you're talking about, when you're describing that beautiful love story, that beautiful relationship that you seem to have with children, or with the horse, but you're a mother with your children. How do you see your relationship your children have with your horses that are there? Oh,
I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's very profound. Yes, I have a 3-year-old. She's my youngest. And she, what Timea was saying about being authentic around the horses is so important. And she is like 3-year-old.
Well, they don't know how to fake.
They're very authentic. Yeah. They're just going to be themselves no matter what. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we had a little filly who was like, nobody could come close to her. She was our last on-handled horse, scared of everything. Nobody could come close. My 3-year-old could walk up and touch her. Wow. And all the horses love her. And it's really interesting also to see the horses around the children, because they really, you can take a horse who's very reactive and jumpy, and they act so different around children. And I think it's because the children are so authentic.
I read something that you wrote. You were talking about how the relationships between the human and the horse, and how the horses kind of feel everything you feel. They can feel every muscle, every emotion. And I guess when you're talking about that innocent, an innocent 3-year-old, they're not there to prove anything, right? They're like, oh, it's something that they're gravitating towards, and they're pulling off of the energy off of each other too. And that's probably a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, exactly. There's no like ego involved. Like they're not trying to prove anything to anyone.
I was also reading that you created, or actually you had an artist create something called the wildfire ring. And I think
this one right
here. So you wore that at the CMAs?
Yes.
Right? Okay, so tell us the story about the wildfire ring.
That was my heart horse who passed away. Yes, and so
what
we
was
saved
the name of your heart horse?
Wildfire.
Wildfire. Okay, gotcha.
Like the song.
Yes. So we saved his hair from his tail. And
is that what that is?
Yes.
And
we also made it into this hat band. Yes, I found this wonderful woman, Spirit Horse Designs, who does this. Like she takes custom hair, horse hair, and makes it into jewelry and hat bands for people.
That is a neat story. You have that. You have wildfire with you forever.
Yeah.
That is such a cool story. Cool. I'm not doing it. When you pass, Steve, I'm not doing a ring out of you or anything. I had a dream that he was in my freezer last night.
It's because she killed him.
On the next episode of Sword and Scale.
Do you both find that it's, I'm almost afraid to ask this, that women have better relationships with horses than men do? From an outsider point of view, I feel like women get better connected with horses than men do.
I could see that.
I think that's such a hard question to answer because people are individuals.
Sure.
And I think the way that we like have the outside perspective looking in at the horse world, it's the intimate side of the horse world is woman dominated. Mm-hmm. But I would like to say...
Have you seen men that have the same kind of relationship with their horse that you guys?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So many men, possible. But I feel like in general, men in our culture are taught more to,
hide their feelings,
like stuff it under a rug. And it's all about like physical and especially,
asserting power,
the masculine side.
That's what I was thinking actually. It's like, I got to make this horse, not that I'm saying this, I would do this, but you got to make the horse do what you want it to do.
Totally.
And you guys don't do that. You're sort of trying to figure out what the horse wants to do. And I know you ride it and make it do, go certain ways and stuff, but you probably don't ride a horse if you feel like that horse doesn't want to be ridden today, right?
Well, that's, and that's like, even making a horse do anything. And that's kind of, what the perspective is we break horses, we train horses. And in a lot of traditional
I've heard that term a lot. Yeah.
You dominate the horse. You show him who's boss. You make them know who's
it's portrayed on TV too.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And in our approach, and I'll let Camille speak more to this, it's allowing the horse to have choice and freedom and liberty and sovereignty. And yes, they can choose and always have a choice to engage or not. And of course, there's things that you need to do to keep them safe. There's things that you need to get done. So you work to a level of training to do that.
Right.
But it should
be about partnership.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The first time I talked about this before you guys got in, but the first time I went to Steve's house, his ex-wife, he had a horse in the house.
Not on purpose.
It was
not on purpose.
Actual horse in the house. I was like, well, this is going to go great.
We had a horse and we would let it.
Move in?
Yeah. We would let it graze around on the property sometimes. And Michelle and Logan I think were coming over. So my ex left the front door open and the horse just decided to come in the house. So
I think most of ours would like to come in our house.
Yeah. But I love being around our horses. We had a couple of rescue horses actually. But I never really learned to ride that well, but my kids learned so much growing up around horses.
Gracie, his daughter.
Oh yeah. Do you guys know Penny Reeves from Graymar Farms?
Yeah, Graymar's great.
Yeah, my daughter rode with her for years and she learned so much about just life by being around her horse.
Harry, and when she said her heart horse, I just thought of Harry immediately.
I wanted to hear it though, yeah. And Harry passed away, and my daughter Gracie was just torn up, and she wasn't even riding him anymore.
Doesn't matter.
I know. It was like the loss of a loved one. It was the loss of a loved one.
Mm-hmm. And since we're on the sad subject, I want you ladies to talk about this horrid practice of the horse meat consumption and horse slaughter, but it's not legal here in the United States, right?
It is actually,
but
legal.
It's not legal to eat it.
I don't know about that. It's not, they say that it's not legal to have what they did was they defunded
the slaughter plants in the U.S., but it's still legal to sell horses for slaughter.
But in Japan, Canada, and there was another
Mexico,
it's common, right? Or
worldwide. I wouldn't even like. There's European cultures that eat horse. Like you can go to Switzerland and find horse on the menu. But the pipeline of it is essentially horses are considered livestock, even though they are predominantly our pets, our companions.
Okay.
When you think of livestock, you think of, the animals that you
cattle,
eat. Cattle, sheep.
Yes.
And all of those systems are highly regulated for human consumption. The horse industry is predominantly, pets, so they're getting all types of performance drugs and all kinds of medications and things that would be illegal.
Didn't think about that angle. I was just thinking about eating a horse. I didn't think about the whole prospect of what you are actually eating too.
And then, the livestock industry has all of these humane ways to, slaughter these animals, and the horse industry does not.
Is that because it's unregulated, or is it?
Yes, well, it's because they defunded it, which is, part of the problem. Mm-hmm. And then they take these horses, they go through, like I was sharing with you, a series of auctions. And some people are even unaware that they bring their horse to an auction hoping it gets purchased. Yes. Some people are unaware that, there's kill buyers there, there's people there. And then horses are typically sent through a series of auctions where then they land in what they call kill pens, which I was telling you. And you can literally search kill pens and you'll find them. And they do list horses available to, they call it save.
Where would you like to see change in that industry? Like, what do you think the biggest change that needs to happen in that industry?
We think it needs to be made illegal so that horses cannot be sold to slaughter, because then we could actually do what we do for dogs and cats, even create kill shelters, so to speak, where horses are treated humanely and kindly and then humanely euthanized as opposed to tortured and starved and abused and sent to horrific deaths.
Yes.
Which is how it is currently.
And then shipped overseas or to Mexico.
That's the thing. Like to even
a lot of the horse meat actually comes back into our beef that we buy in a grocery store because horse meat is cheaper than beef, which isn't talked about.
You think it gets mixed like hamburger meat gets mixed?
Yeah, I think it's purposefully.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, you're not buying it off the shelf at H-E-B.
Yeah.
You don't know.
But
I think it was wasn't it like IKEA or something that was selling meatballs and then they tested them later? And
I did. I heard about it.
So that's where it's like, and dog food, that's not a lie that horse meat isn't dog food. Yeah. It's
my dog food. I make my own dog
Well, there you go. See? And that's a beautiful thing because there's a lot of these things that we buy for our animals or even ourselves that we're totally unaware of what's in them. And horses.
Is there a council that like a national council that maybe can be created there is for this particular industry? I mean, maybe that's an avenue for you ladies to.
There's the SAFE Act.
Yeah, right now there's a bill actually trying to pass through Congress called the SAFE Act for horses, and it needs more public support, but it would make horse slaughter illegal in the United States, which would completely end all the kill pens and the slaughter pipeline.
So when you say slaughtered, you're differentiating between, there are some animals that get sick or injured and they need to be euthanized. You're talking about
these horses.
A horse sometimes get so injured that it has to be euthanized?
Totally. Yeah. But in this pipeline, there's sick, injured horses that still get sent. And the whole... What we're saying too is, they end up in, southern states, Texas, or northern states, and then they have, like you were saying, these horrific journeys to their slaughter. And sometimes even beyond Mexico and Canada, they are shipped in containers to Japan for live sushimi. Oh my gosh. And I say live very loosely because oftentimes in these journeys, the horses are packed into trailers without water, without food for days at a time and trample each other and die in transit.
In what world, like I consider myself a fairly logical person, but what the hell are these people thinking? In what world do they think that this is okay?
It's so disgusting.
For any animal.
It's all just for profit. That's the only
It is disgusting. It's not okay. And I think part of the problem is there's also no alternative because they've defunded it here because
why was it defunded? I've heard you mention that. And was that from on the national level? It was defunded, or is it one of those feel good legislation?
It was also inhumane how they were slaughtering horses here.
Okay,
and they were supposedly had regulations when they had the slaughter plants running, but they weren't. Nobody was following the regulations, and there's really no way to check all the plants all the time and make sure that it's happening humanely. And so there was enough of a public outcry about that they defunded it, but it has not been made illegal.
So enough of a public outcry within the horse community. But here I am. I sit in Dripping Springs, and I know nothing about this. And who's spearheading the SAFE Act? Do you know which?
I know there's a charity called Horses in Our Hands, which is very involved.
Okay.
I wish I knew the answer.
Well,
to that.
while you guys are
that's
doing
a good
that,
question,
I'm gonna.
I wanted
but
to
they
ask,
they would probably be the ones to contact.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about. So, how many rescue horses do you have at the horse rescue now? Approximately
About 20.
20. Okay,
more than 20.
So more than 20.
25.
At what process? So, where do you get most of them?
They come from low-end auctions, which is where the kill buyers would buy them. So we get them right before they go to kill pens. We also get them from kill pens.
Yeah,
and,
our first rescues.
So
were from
these
kill
horses
pens.
are right at the end of the line when you
Exactly.
rescue them.
Some of them we've actually we work with the Arabian Rescue Group, and some horses were actually on the truck. And we called the truck and had them stop the truck and pulled the horses off. Yeah, it's
so
intense.
Part of our goal is to get those.
We do buy them.
They say you bail them.
Oh, and a lot of people. There's a lot of
you bail them.
Bad talking about rescuing quote unquote horses from kill pens online because you are buying them from the kill pen, and so people say you're supporting the kill pen, but the kill pen is going to make money off these horses regardless. If you don't buy them, they are going to go to slaughter.
Right, which is why they call it you're bailing them. You're bailing them out of the slaughter pipeline.
And so if if we really want to shut down the kill pens, we have to pass the SAFE Act or make horse slaughter illegal.
The SAFE Act, the sponsor is Representative Janice, I think I'm going to butcher her last name, Schakowsky from Illinois, and she's on the Energy and Commerce Committee. And the bill prohibits the transporting, receiving, possessing, purchasing, selling, or donation by a person of an equine that the person has reason to believe will be slaughtered for human consumption. This isn't very interesting. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. I'm intrigued. I'm disgusted. I just don't even know how to place.
Nauseated.
I'm nauseated. Yeah.
Here's the big thing about all this. I've been around horses. I didn't know this was happening.
I mean,
I had no idea, and I've been in the horse industry my whole life.
It's sad.
It's
sad that we're doing
sad.
it as a society, that we're allowing these animals that have just the same kind of feelings and emotions as humans do to be
so closely related
treated
to us.
this way.
They live in They live in family systems.
Yeah.
They live in community.
Yeah.
They're very deep.
I can't remember which one of you said. I think it was you, Timea, said that horses live in the present moment. Mm-hmm. But they still remember, if you rescue them from one of these kill pens, they still remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They're
of
living in the
course.
moment now, but they have that memory of that.
So just like we have the memory of trauma within us and there's triggers, the horses do too.
Yeah. How do you, when you rescue a horse, first of all, how do you identify how troubled they are? And then how do you work with them to get them back to where they could be? So at the end result is they go to somebody's home and they're there. They ride them and care for them. But how do you figure out that process?
We take our time. First, we just let them be horses.
Before that, we also intentionally did it the hard way. We chose the horses that, because 93% of the horses that go to slaughter are young, able-bodied, healthy animals.
Really?
93% of them.
That's crazy.
I don't even want to get started on the Mustangs, but a lot of those horses are unhandled, which is a difficult undertaking for most people.
It means you can't touch them. Like you can't halter them.
Never have been.
They're not used to humans.
Socialize with humans.
So they've just been out like in a pasture somewhere and they've never been around humans.
Sounds like my daughter.
Yeah. Feral.
That's exactly
Yeah, feral.
Feral.
So, sorry, I was interjecting because I wanted to back you up. So that's some of the why behind the horses we've chosen to rescue. Also,
we felt like they needed the most help.
and pregnant.
pregnant mare.
You know, Camille, it sounds like, you know, we haven't mentioned it at all, but, you know, your husband is in the music industry, Jess, and it's, you know, horses are kind of like a big, I guess, identity of the country music scene. Yeah, country and Western music scene. And it sounds like to me this is a cause that that this industry would love to be able to take up if they knew about it. And even, you know, I'm Yellowstone, who is all over. I mean, why isn't Taylor Sheridan? I mean, these horses, the most beautiful thing I think about Yellowstone is not Beth in her mouth, is the cinematography. Absolutely, where you're watching the horses and you're falling in love.
I love the horses in it. I watch it just for the horses.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we have a little Monica and a little Summer right here in the studio right now. I'm just like a little, but you know, how do you go forward with this? How do you make more people aware? I mean, we're just a little podcast in Urban Springs, but you know, how are you planning to get the word out on this?
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of our main missions for the rescue is to raise public awareness and get the word out.
Right, and that's part of what we are strategizing. We took on a lot of horses at once, and we started our business all at the same time. Yeah. And I mean, as you know, it takes a lot to care for all of that and to get these horses safe and trusting and home. Yeah. Even in our home for now. And then, you know, now we are just having these dialogues about how to kind of bring more awareness and how to be a conduit for that.
Well, and get with Jess's PR person. And every time he's in front of a microphone, maybe he needs to start mentioning something like
Safe
this.
Act, go sign it.
Exactly. A little tattoo or a little band or something like that. You know, I mean, you know, the entertainment industry, sometimes they do tend to jump on the bandwagon of certain things. But maybe that's what needs to happen, is just that kind of star power behind such an important, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do, so obviously this is very expensive. How do you guys fund this?
We accept donations.
Yeah. Well, and if somebody's listening right now and when they want to donate, how do they do that?
Right now we have a GoFundMe page that links to our website. If you go to our website, we are trying to set up, like, you know, Venmo, PayPal, and we are trying to set up a specific donation button on our website.
Okay.
We are in the process of incorporating, and we do have a tax ID, and everything is being currently filed.
Yes, all donations can be tax deductible.
Yeah.
So it's driftwoodhorserescue.com.
Correct.
And people can donate.
Yeah.
What about if somebody doesn't have much money but they want to help? What can they do?
Are you taking volunteers?
We are putting together a volunteer team.
We're starting that. I think some of you might know, and anybody that's listening, that like to take on volunteers is a job in and of itself.
Absolutely.
So, and among many of the other things I've been trying to sort through, it's to develop an offering and a program that we can, you know, bring people in and they can support us and we can support them and educate them on the whole process. So that is in the pipeline. And there is also on the website, they'll see a way to like get involved.
So on your website, it says that a horse makes 50 pounds of horse poop a day. And Michelle was telling me she's on board. So sign her up for that.
You know,
because she shovels so much during the day.
You know,
is there
it's
sweating
basically
involved?
a free gym workout.
That's right.
There you go, Steve.
No, not
free.
for me. I get my workouts plenty. I also read on your website, Unbound Horsemanship.
Yes,
What does that
that's my training business. So originally I was just going to start the training business and then learned about the rescue horses in the slaughter pipeline. And I was like, I have to do something to help. So we started the rescue first. But the idea was that I would always have my own separate training business that I could take in private clients' horses and work with them with these methods and also train the rescue horses through. So all the rescue horses, when they go to school, like it's through my training program. And then they're sold as, you know, rideable horses from the training program.
How did you learn to train horses?
That's what I was going to say.
Beat you.
Oh, I mean, I guess like life experience. I grew up, I basically taught myself what's now called liberty riding, which is where you ride a horse with no saddle or bridle, bareback bridleless. But I always wanted to ride like that. And I've been riding like that like since I was 10 or 11 with my little horse Detaunt. But everyone used to think I was crazy. But now it's like the new trend, it seems like. But yeah, so I did that. I kind of taught myself. I took formal dressage lessons. I actually grew up riding English, so I took dressage, hunter jumper, and then I learned Western, and I apprenticed under a trainer for cutting horses for a while. So I feel like I have like a lot of diverse background with the horses. When I was in my early 20s, I formally apprenticed under a Pirelli horsemanship trainer. And so I guess you could say my official horse training
came from
started with Pirelli, which was like the only natural horsemanship techniques offered back then. Now there's like plenty of natural horsemanship techniques to choose from. It's interesting. I'm glad that it's growing like that.
It's just kind of horsemanship mean?
Natural horsemanship is like working with horses more like as partners and kind of trying to use body language, like the way that you see horses talking to each other, where they use body language and pressure and release instead of, kind of like forcing them to do stuff, like putting our human terms on them. It's like you're talking to horses how they talk to each other.
How do horses talk to each other? The only one I know for sure is when their ears go back, that you got to be careful. But what are the other ways that horses talk to each other?
Well, like Camille was saying, horses, they move around and they speak in body language, and it's the subtlety. Like, yes, their ears are moving, but the way they breathe, the way that they move towards and around each other. And if you look and study horses in herds and with each other, there is so much subtlety and nuance to it. And like I was saying, there's emotion behind it. And I think of emotion as energy in motion. There's a frequency, there's a vibration. That's why you can walk into a room and be like, ooh, something's not right with this person today. So a horse is like that times 100. They are so highly attuned to that. So that little difference in how we're feeling and showing up creates a response in the horse. And that's why I always say it's like a cause and effect. It isn't by accident. And I think too, natural horsemanship has so many amazing, beautiful things about it. There's still elements of it that kind of put the human in the place of dominating the horse, or for lack of a better word, like, I don't know, overpowering, or like you said, like it is relationship based, but there's still elements of it. I feel like that creates separation.
Is it a little sort of like the relationship between a parent and a child?
Yes.
Where you're not, obviously if you're forcing them to do it, you're doing it wrong. If you're guiding them and help them make better choices, that's sort of like
that's how it should be.
That's how it should be. That's where I was saying, I feel like even natural horsemanship can be.
It can be misused.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ride when you were pregnant?
No, because I had kind of high risk, or I was worried that I had high risk. I ended up not having high risk, but my OB told me it wouldn't be a good idea. I did actually ride on my youngest. She was a little late, and I was not very comfortable, and so I saddled my mare, and I trotted her up and down for 2 hours.
That's funny.
And then she was born right after that.
There you go. So, because I was just wondering when you were talking about that relationship, if the horses, or like if your horse knew, or like even just being around.
Oh yes, I'm sure. Yes,
of course, definitely. They probably knew before you did,
right? But that is pretty funny that you did that, because I'm like,
she's a cowgirl too. I always tell her, other people say that they're born to ride, but she can actually say that she was born riding.
That's right.
I love the relationship you guys have with these horses. It's got to be hard to have some of them, when you've saved them from these kill pens, to bring them and see how damaged they are. That's got to be really hard on you.
It is heartbreaking, but it's also so rewarding to see the progress that they make. To see them like blossom and get their own personalities and gain confidence.
And that's one of the things that I love about how we work with them is we touched on this a little bit, but the first thing is to allow them to be horses, and our horses are out on 50 acres of land in a herd together, mares, geldings, babies. And that is the best thing that we can do for them. And honestly, it makes, especially our approach with working with them, so much easier, because they're learning all of these different languages from each other. And then when we bring them in and work with them and work on relationship building with them, they're understanding and we're understanding.
It is funny because, you know, Steve and I are also in real estate. We actually do have a day job. So our day job is real estate. And it is funny when we see a lot of people that have come in from out of state and they want property because we want to get horses. Like, it's just like, that's what we want to do. We're going to move to Texas and move to horses. And Steve can look at a property and he can say, this is not horse property. Just because it has 5 acres, you know, whatever, 25 acres
doesn't mean you can keep horses on it.
This is not horse property. And so to be able to know that there's such a personal relationship with these horses, with these beautiful, majestic animals.
Well, that sort of leads me into my question. Have you ever rescued horses from somebody that thought, oh, it'd be great to have a couple horses, and they didn't know what they were doing, and those horses suffered?
Those were probably some that we've gotten, but not directly.
Yeah. I think Taney was one that was like abandoned by her owner, and she was one of the severely abused and neglected cases. I didn't even think she was going to survive when we rescued her. But I mean, now she's like the bossiest of all the mares.
But I think there's a lot of
She's truly
people,
found herself.
Yeah. There's a lot of people moving from out of state, and they think having a horse is a little like having a dog.
No.
Oh, I know. I know. But they do. They think that. They're like,
and they think they can have
a
one.
couple of horses out in the pasture out there. It'll be so nice. And they don't realize the work, right?
There's a lot of work.
It's not even the work. It's just not.
And the expense.
Yeah.
It's the work. It's the expense. It's like if people get a single horse, that's like my biggest thing. I'm like, that is torture for them.
Really?
Because they live in herds.
Social.
Yeah, they're social creatures. They need at least one other. At least. Because then what if you put them with one other and they're like, I really don't like him.
And then they end up in somebody's kitchen.
I think it's such a huge mistake and such a sad thing that people think it's like cool to have them.
They do.
And it's not a dog at all, and they deserve so much more than to be a lawn ornament.
Well, I've had that a few times over the years where I've been showing somebody property and they're not from the area, and they say, yeah, we just want to get a couple horses. And I go, well, have you guys had horses before? No. Do you ride? You know, have you been to? No. We just think it'd be really cool. And
they're not.
Get a couple cows.
It's not a novelty. Yeah.
But exactly. Get a couple sheep.
If people were really interested in horses, I definitely recommend taking some horse lessons.
Exactly.
Like for 6 months at
or
one of these great riding
coming
stables,
to a horse rescue and seeing what happens when you're not, when the horses are not being taken care of.
Right.
Like, what is the end result
or
of
what
that?
it truly takes to care for them.
Absolutely.
Like, I always like, you know, if you're going to get an animal, in my opinion, like, what would it take? It's like if you have a child, to have optimal care for that animal.
Yeah.
Why would you take on an animal that you don't know how to care for, or you can't provide the right care for?
Because I want all the puppies and all the monkeys in the world, all of them.
Yeah, Timmy, you said it right though. It's lawn furniture, lawn ornaments. That's what a lot of people think they are,
novelty.
which is sad to me.
Also, do you know how long a horse lives?
25 to 30
25 to 30 years.
I would say 30 plus
30
years.
to 40.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
On average, that's what I was reading.
That's another,
earlier.
I think, common misconception. People are like, what?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, if you get a horse when you're 50, you got to think, okay, and it's a couple years old, you got to think, gosh, what am I going to do when I'm 80 years old and I can't take care of this horse?
Exactly.
One of the things that I have this little segment that we call WTF, Weird True Facts, and I did it on horses right before. And I didn't understand this, and Steve and I were looking at each other, but now that you're here, maybe you can explain it to us. It said they do not have teeth in the middle of their mouth. What does that mean?
Okay, so they have incisors. They have front teeth, like we do. Then they have a gap. And then they have their molars.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
And that gap is where the bit would go.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Oh, there you go, Steve. Look at that. You're welcome.
You're learned something.
I did too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, which one of you was the yoga teacher?
That's Timea.
That was you. Okay.
Yeah.
I bet you can apply a lot of that, those principles.
Gosh. Yeah, it was actually one of my riding instructors many, many years ago was like, you should go to yoga. And I was like, okay.
Camille, do you go to yoga with her?
I should.
I mean, yeah.
Probably be good for your riding.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Oh, yeah. Yoga's amazing.
We were talking about funny New Year's resolutions, and one of mine is do enough yoga to justify wearing yoga pants.
That's a good one.
I was always stuck on like an hour exercise, that would be a yoga practice, or that would be, and it could be 5 minutes.
I've learned more recently, because I'm a lot older than you ladies, and I have learned that my muscles, the older you get, they hate you, and you wake up every day not knowing what muscle is going to hurt. But I've also learned the art of, like, when I was like stretching, sleeping in. Yeah. Shut up, Steve. But like stretching, and I'm like, okay, 5 seconds. Okay. That's good. But I've learned that, like, it takes 30 seconds at least for that muscle to release. And that feels like eternity sometimes, 30 seconds.
That's where your breath comes in.
Yeah.
No. In through your nose, out through your nose. Slow and steady.
Yeah, I'm a pretty high-strung person.
Or, and that's the thing, they say 30 seconds too, but it's also your nervous system is oftentimes what's creating that gamma loop, that tension in your muscles. And when you're working to stretch, you're also working to, like, reprogram your nervous system for that loop to stop. So that's truly where those, like, sweet.
Yeah.
I think I earned wearing my yoga pants today. Sorry. I just learned some.
Yeah. But isn't it your muscle, when you first stretch it, the reaction is to tighten up. And then as you hold the stretch, then your body goes, okay, we got to loosen up because this is uncomfortable, right? And that's where
yes and no. This is where I'm like, your breath and your mind are such players. And I think oftentimes, even with the horses, we try to separate what they're physically doing from their emotional state, and they're married. Yeah. Our breath and our body and the way that we carry ourselves, the stress that we carry. If I'm stretching and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do anything. Excuse my language.
No,
okay.
You're in good hands.
You're in good company.
Or if I'm stretching, going, okay, and like observing, and I'm here for it. It's changing everything, and it's also allowing my mental state to not want to rush out of it. Yeah.
Boy, if I was a horse, I would like you to talk to me, because you have just such a soothing voice. I absolutely, but you're just the way your presence is also about the way
Camille,
you
what
carry
do you
yourself.
do in your downtime? What's your
Ride
horses.
Yeah,
ride horses.
Okay, well,
Pet horses. Hang out with horses.
Which one of you said that?
Look at horses.
Yeah.
Timmy is always like, hey, you should take a weekend and go on a vacation somewhere. I'm like,
are there horses?
Yeah. I just want to be with the horses.
No, she's like, I'm going to get my horse a massage. And I'm like, and yourself.
You should. Which one of you said that a dream day for you is riding your horse all day long in a state park? Was that you, Timmy?
But I think it's the same. Yeah, it was me, but I think it's our same dream day.
How do you, if you rode, say, 8 hours, how would you feel the next day?
Fine.
Yeah, good. I just did an endurance ride. It took me 10 hours to do 50 miles.
50 miles, jeez.
I rode 2 hours on a horse in Hawaii, and I hated myself.
Because you didn't know you had those muscles.
I didn't know I had those muscles, my knees. I was like, please, I don't know who I have to pay to get off this horse, but please, right now.
But similar to riding a bike. And
yeah, it's just using new muscles.
Used to that,
yeah.
But back to the relationship aspect of it, we were talking about this as we were walking, and then the scenery was absolutely beautiful and what we're looking around, but then I felt such tension from the horse, and when we dropped them back off and they took them to their little pens, I just thought, they're not really interacting with them. Like, I wanted to hug them and love on them
and thank them.
Yeah, and thank them. Yeah, and thank you for a good ride, kind of thing. And they just kind of trotted them off, waited for the next group of idiot tourists. And I felt like I could feel that tension from that horse while riding it. I was like, oh God, here we go again.
I lived in London for 6 years, and I studied dressage while I was there. But I used to ride at the stable in Wimbledon Village Stables.
Oh, really?
And I'd come, and they had it set up like they have like grooms that get your horse ready, and they're supposed to have the horse like standing and waiting for you at the mounting block to you just get on and ride, and then you hand your horse back to the groom when you're done or whatever. And I hated that, and so I was always trying to when I get back from my ride, I'd sneak off to come in the back way and sneak the horse in the stall and unsaddle him myself and brush him off myself. And they were like, hey, you're not supposed to do that. I think they got used to me after a while, so they just kind of didn't let.
I'm sure the horses looked forward to that more than those other parts.
I think it would have been cool also to, I have this weird obsession with the Queen, and Porchy, her horse trainer. I think it would, her relationship, the queen's relationship with horses, when you've seen pictures of her and how she treated her horses, was very much like the way you are talking about.
A true horsewoman.
Yes, not the truth.
Yeah. What's next for Driftwood Horse Rescue? What do you see in the future?
They're both big eyes. They must stare at each other.
As we go along.
I see us really, truly making an impact and spreading awareness on the industry in and of itself, of providing sanctuary for some of these horses that needed a soft landing and a soft place to have the rest of their lives. And for those that are strong and capable of them going through Unbound horsemanship training and becoming great companions for all kinds of individuals. I also see us as providing a space for people not only to bring awareness to the Safe Act, but me personally providing a space for people to get to know this intimate level of what it means to relate to horses and what horses actually bring, aside from this like athletic vehicle that most of us see horses as. They can really, if we take time as a culture to understand how horses live in community with one another, how they relate to one another, I think we could heal a lot of our human dysfunction.
Yeah, on the website, somebody, I don't know which one of you it was, talked about the world needs connection, partnership, and trust. And I wholeheartedly agree. That's what we need right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe if people were around horses more and tried to understand that, the world would be a better place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of our missions.
Yeah, and I think that being around horses, like you said, like try to understand. I just think that there's an alchemy that happens, that horses bring us into a state that is soothing.
Yeah.
And that oftentimes people leave feeling better and they're like, whoa.
Yeah. I was telling Michelle in our monologue earlier that when we had horses, sometimes I'd go out and feed them, and I had a little lawn chair out there and I'd just sit and watch them eat. It's so relaxing.
I do that with you outside my office.
Yeah, you do. It's not relaxing though.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
There was a study done by the Heart Math Institute.
And they study coherence.
No, you go ahead.
They study coherence, and the Heart Math Institute was developed in like human relations, and they study heart rate variance and coherence having to do with our emotion in relations. And they started with humans and intimate relationships and family dynamics, and then they pioneered some study, which I would love to take further, on how horses and humans can create coherence for one another.
Wow.
And it's fascinating that they truly can bring us into a state of ease.
They found that the horse's heartbeat, if the human's heartbeat was like rushed and fast, and they were stressed out, the horses could actually bring the human's heartbeat back in, would bring the human's
Normal
heartbeat
rhythm.
back to match the horse's heartbeat, which was like calm and steady. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's
my
amazing
jam.
to me, because I think if everybody had a horse or was around horses and they could have this opportunity, if they volunteer with you guys, I do believe the world would be a better place.
Thank you.
People would be.
We think so too. Horses just have so much to offer, and I feel like
A lot of it's missed.
a lot of it, like people don't even like. There's really nothing written. I mean, the study with horses with the Heart Math Institute is like really the only scientific study done on horses and emotions, and that's like the main part of them to me.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, it's a part of our world that I think is going away, but we need to keep it. There's less and less room for ranches and places to have horses, especially here in Central Texas. And we need to keep that heritage because it's very important.
Well, I think, again, if you want to help, if our listeners or, if this story has really touched you like it has me, go to driftwoodhorserescue.com. Also, learn more about this Safe Act of
HR 3355, Safe Act of
2021, and see if there's something you can do. And I'm sure you can reach out to these ladies right here via email, through the website. I'm going to say this again. It's such an honor to have you guys here and hear about your relationship and this beautiful, beautiful love story that you have for these majestic animals. And what a gift it is for Dripping Springs and Driftwood to have you in our community. And
thank you so much.
Thank you for being on. We really appreciate it.
I learned a lot from you guys today. I mean, I know a ton about horses, but I've learned a lot from you, and I really appreciate you both coming on. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Camille Carson and Timea Chemez of Driftwood Horse Rescue and Sanctuary.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallet Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at malletintegrityteam.com.
Thanks for listening. If you have comments or feedback, please email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Mallet and Michelle.
Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
New episodes every Tuesday, and leave us a review.